What is good, everybody? You already know it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. We're here for another week of dope fantasy talk. I am here with the Fantasy Whispers, as y'all can see above me right here. We got the Brody Bro, Big Trav, and
What
of
up?
course, Johnny Game Time Hicks.
What
Let's
up,
get into
Pat?
this, man. I'm having a rough week right now. I mean,
Oh,
last week I go out with the Hollywood Brown shot to the groin right there. That's on me. Tough day. And today my White Sox are out of the playoffs. So hey, let's get into it. Baki already says he's got a ton of fantasy questions. So let's talk. First off, boys, how you guys doing this week? How's your fantasy week? Let's start there.
yeah, mine was up and down. I have a few leagues. League of record I lost because I was holding out hope until the third quarter because it looked like Lamar and Mark Andrews were going to just be ho hum on the day, and then all of a sudden, man, Marquise Brown, Lamar Jackson, and Andrews just balled out in that fourth quarter, and just sent me to the shadow realm. And I was out of it after that. But some other leagues where I have Lamar Jackson, I have Marquise Brown, I did well in. Had some other, it's up and down, but I think week 5 was nuts. It was
Yeah.
nuts, Pat. We had monster performances all over the
So,
place from Herbert and Mike Williams and Tom Brady. And then we had massive injuries with Saquon Barkley and CEH, Russell Wilson. So, this
And
is
your
how
boy
it goes,
Danny
man.
Dimes. Don't
Yeah,
forget him.
Daniel Jones. So many injuries, so little time. But that's what fantasy does to us. Johnny, how was yours, man?
Hey, I had a great week. I had a lot of high scoring weeks. Unfortunately, Lamar knocked me from being that top dog in a lot of leagues as far as scoring. But yeah, I can't. I had a pretty solid week this week. Unfortunately, I can't. Drown in the sorrow with you boys this week. It's one of those rare weeks for me where I did pretty
Yeah.
solidly.
I don't
well,
think you're
I did
hurting that
not.
bad.
I
Yeah.
my week pretty much came down to Hollywood Brown versus Michael Pittman, and Pittman, I thought,
Hey,
listen, Pittman, I thought gave me the win, and and then Hollywood came through and did what he does. There's a reason he's called Hollywood. So it was a tough
yeah,
week for me, but listen, this is all about helping people figure out what to do with their fantasy team. So ask your questions now. We've already got some questions streaming in. We're absolutely going to get to, but here's something that just kind of this is the waiver wire thoughts, do's and don'ts. Week 6 coming in here. Who's the guy on the waiver wire this week that you guys believe is going to be that guy that helps a team get out of the hole like I'm in, or get back on, or just stack up? You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
Yeah,
Travis, you wanna
yeah,
take
I can jump in for sure. I write the waiver wire column every week. You can get it on the fantasywhispers.com. And I think the cover boy for me this week is Kadarius Toney. Rostered in 33% of sleeper leagues. We understand what he did in the game. He had 13 targets, 10 catches, 189 yards. That's over 18 yards per reception.
Yeah.
But guys, this was only on 54% of the snaps because obviously we had other injuries and we had him throwing a punch. So he didn't play the full game. And he was still able to be dynamite, show some of that game-breaking speed that we like to see. His jukes, his ability. This was a first-round pick. This was a guy that was driving up draft boards before the draft. We have the Jags on record saying that they wanted Kadarius Toney, but the Giants took him. So this is a guy that was coveted by other teams, and now he's in that perfect situation. We know that fantasy football is all about opportunity. We've got Kenny Golladay banged up. We've got Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard banged up, and we've got Saquon Barkley banged up. And so it's just like so many of these injuries means so much opportunity for Toney on the table. So we've seen other rookies before where we get into this like 5, 6, 7 week mark and something happens. They hit past the rookie wall. Opportunity becomes available. I think of Justin Jefferson last year and even on this Giants team a few years back with Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot at play here. And I think, I don't want to get too excited and get people too excited, but I think he's got league winning upside. Kadarius Toney does. And that's just because of the injury situation in the Giants and the fact that when Daniel Jones is healthy and this team is behind in a lot of games, I mean, we're 2 weeks away from him just throwing 400 yards. So there's volume on the table here.
And not
Is he going to be available this week though? I'm seeing right now,
but
at least in my league, questionable with an ankle injury after last week's game.
Well, and he also you're talking about Kadarius Toney.
Kadarius
So
Toney, yeah.
Oh yeah.
the X-rays came back negative, Pat. So no major injury there. We're good on
Good,
that.
good,
He
good.
may not be available this week, but I think
Yeah.
he's still worth that stash because
Mm.
because it's not a major injury, and we got Kenny Golladay and obviously Saquon out for a little bit more extended time. I think he's worth the stash here.
Okay.
And not only that, but you're talking about originally I thought you were talking about Danny Dimes potentially not being able to go because of concussion. What we like to see is even when Mike Glennon was in, Mike Glennon was targeting him as well.
Yeah.
And so that's what you like to see. You like to see those wide receivers that they can go from quarterback to quarterback and it doesn't matter. So love the
Now,
Tony pick.
here's the question that's on just about every Christian McCaffrey owner's mind, myself included. I don't come on here just to fix my fantasy team, but it helps. It works. What is the latest on Christian McCaffrey that you guys are seeing? Should people still be targeting Chuba Hubbard if he's still available, or should they look to drop him because McCaffrey's on his way back?
So what happened last week was McCaffrey was asked if he had a chance to play, and he said, "Definitely, I have a chance to play." He felt good. He got back to practice. Well, the team said otherwise. They said, "Nope, you're doubtful. You're out last week." And what I'm seeing is they didn't put him on IR, right? They didn't necessarily put him on IR last year, but they didn't put him on IR here, which means this might be the game that they bring him back because this would be that 3rd-week window. And why not put him on IR if he's going to miss 3 weeks? I think he makes a big push here to play. If Chuba Hubbard is on your waiver wire and you want to roll that dice, go for it. But I think there's going to be other guys we're about to talk about, at the running back position, considering like Darrell Williams with CEH out, Devontae Booker, who got 18 touches to 1 touch of Elijah Penny after Saquon Barkley went out. So dominant volume from Devontae Booker there, and a team that's hurting again for weapons and could just be feeding the rock to him and throwing it to him through the passing game.
Let's get into that as well. I mean, the running back situation, very interesting. Like you guys said, a lot of big plays this weekend. I mean, I was in you guys live for the Monday Night Football, which is a weekly thing. You guys got to tune in with them. A ton of fun. We're in there talking back and forth, getting updates on fantasy, dropping questions. But when we saw the big plays, we saw it mixed with the injuries, and again, CEH going down. What should we expect moving forward? That the Chiefs not a big giving this guy a ton of carries running back anyway. Should you look to pick up the backup running back out there in Kansas City just off of the chance that he might have the opportunities?
Yeah, so I'll let Johnny take this because I think it's an industry question. People are wondering Devontae Booker or Darrell Williams. We have 2 guys with opportunity over probably the next 3 to 4 weeks. I prefer Booker. I talked about that the volume, whereas Darrell Williams still is going to have Jerick McKinnon around the corner. So Johnny, do you agree with that, or are you more inclined to go after the upside that is Darrell Williams because of the offense?
Yeah, I'm more inclined to go for Darrell because the offense and 2 parts, right? The offense, and we do know that Darrell was already taking over goal line even when CEH was active. And so I do think that Jerick McKinnon will be used as more of the pass catcher, but you're looking at a guy in Darrell who, the Kansas City Chiefs are in the red area a lot, and so he's getting those carries, whereas when you look at the Giants, the big problem, even when you were talking about Saquon, was it was the line, that offensive line, game script. Are they even going to be in that game, in order to use him and utilize him? And so, that was my major concern. However, if you need a guy that is going to there are some people that just really like touches and the matchups are somewhat decent for the Giants over the next 2 weeks where they would have to utilize Booker. Then certainly go in that, or if you're in like a PPR league, I would go Booker 1. But if you're in like a standard or half PPR, I would probably go Darrell number 1 just because of, like Travis and we've been talking about, that offense.
Yeah, I think that when you're looking at a lot of the injury situations here, it's scary because I'm a guy that if he's getting touches, he's got the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? And there, would you say that there's truth to that the opportunity is better than the potential upside because like we even talked about with Arizona, James Conner.
Right.
He's a touchdown dependent guy.
Right.
Where he's not going to get as many opportunities, but he might get more shots at the end zone.
Well, and that's what we talked about too when I remember you asking us that question,
Yeah.
and really what we like to do there is kind of let's look at the schedule. Let's look at Connor's schedule. If he's touchdown dependent, and we're wondering if he's on our roster bubble, who does Arizona play in the next few weeks? Are they going to be teams they're going to boat race likely that they'll be ahead of, and then Connor's going to get touches at the goal line, get a lot more touches? Then yeah, I like to keep on to Connor. And to Johnny's point, when we look at Devontae Booker, he's got an offensive line that's got a little bit of shaky woes, but I think that he has. I believe it's 3 of the next 4 matchups are against top 7 defenses in respect to giving up points against the running back. So we like that. We like, even if the line is bad, we like that he's going to face some matchups that have some wiggle room. And again, I think it was 8-3 that Darrell Williams out-touched Jerick McKinnon in this game against Buffalo. Obviously, that's not a lot of touches because CH played most of that game. Right. But that gives me a feeling that there's going to be more work for McKinnon, too, with the exit of CEH. Whereas the only guy behind Devontae Booker right now is Elijah Penny, who's essentially a fullback, and he got 1 carry. And so right now, you're right. That's the question. It's kind of preference. Do I want the floor of volume, or do I want the upside of Darrell Williams? And again, to Johnny's point, he may, McKinnon may get the pass game work, but they haven't been thrown to the backs a lot in Kansas City this year. So maybe it's worth it to have the goal line guy in Kansas City offense. But again,
Washington, Tennessee, New York Giants are the next 3 matchups for Kansas City. So that's why I do, that's a really nice run schedule for Darrell.
Well, let me ask you this, just kind of on is this guy going to get the touches? Is he not? We saw a guy snap off this week that out of nowhere, I think, not so much out of nowhere, just not used a lot in Hunter Henry. I mean, having his biggest production, 47% rostered, at least in on the Yahoo Fantasy side of things. What are you guys seeing from Hunter Henry? Is he going to become Mac's favorite target out there, or was that just there's still that twin tight end. You're still going to see Juno Smith a lot. What are you guys seeing over there in New England?
Yeah, so this was a tough one for me. He made the column, but more of as an honorable mention, because you're still seeing him and Jonnu Smith hitting about the 60% of snaps route. And that's not really the mark I want to see. I want to see a little bit higher in my tight ends. The usage isn't all the way there. So 8 targets last week. You love to see that. But the games before that, 5, he had a 4-target game, a 3-target game, and the yardage was below 50 before he got this 75 yards last week. So a couple touchdowns back-to-back is exciting. But again, touchdowns can be volatile, Pat, and we're not exactly trying to always peg our production on chasing those touchdowns. Again, he's going to play Dallas this week. Really good against the pass, as we've seen. Stephon Diggs' little brother is out there balling right now, playing Defensive Player of the Year style ball. And I just think that's not a team that we would want to necessarily be wanting to pass against a ton. But and there's Jacoby Myers. There's the backs they use. They use Jonnu Smith. There's just so many other guys there. There's a lot more tight ends on the waiver wire that I like this week.
Well, let's get to that too. Who is your tight end on the waiver wire? Waiver wire do's and don'ts. Who do you see that is the pickup you want to see? Who's the guy that everybody's like, oh, we got to rush to get this guy, and you're like, nah, I'd pump the brakes there, bud.
Yeah, Johnny, you want to hit this off, and I'll follow you up.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite ones, and he's been low key, just being solid, and we've seen it before, which is what I like, and that's Zach Ertz, right? Dallas Goedert going on IR for COVID. You've already seen Zach Ertz be involved. You've seen Hurts target the tight ends quite significantly in games, and so for me, I'm looking in that direction just because I've seen it before. I've seen him put it on paper, and also you kind of hear some things, and that Zach Ertz is kind of on that trading block, and so I do expect them to kind of showcase him, just like we saw Marlon Mack last night on some carries, and you're like, what are they even doing? And it's a kind of just
you were so upset,
dude. I was so upset, dude. I ended up not getting the high by like 0.5 for it because of Hines.
Yeah, I mean, to follow up what Johnny said, he's correct, and Ertz it makes the list this week as a potential add. If you look at what Goddard was getting, it's about 12% of the market share. If you were to absorb all of that to Ertz, that would be 25%, which would be more than the highest on the team. So then you're looking at 6, 7, 8 targets on average over the last 3 weeks. That could really boost up to a bigger number, and that's exactly what we want. We want our tight ends to be the number one option on their teams because then they get into that really other big threshold. But I will say that I like Ricky Seals-Jones. I know he didn't have a monster game, but he's been used on 90+% of the snaps over the last couple games. He's basically been, as from a usage standpoint, a 1-for-1 replacement of Logan Thomas. Now, is he as skilled? Maybe not, but he's definitely a guy in an offense, especially against the Chiefs. Not only are they going to have to throw to keep up, but the Chiefs average giving up the 4th most catches per game to the tight end. So if you play in PPR, you're getting the most, top 5 catches to your tight end. And so I think Ricky Seals-Jones is a perfect streamer this week. Maybe you want to keep on to Goddard because you believe in him and he's on COVID maybe for this week or the next, and you want to go ahead and get a guy like RSJ into your lineup. Or maybe you have Pitts on bye. RSJ is a nice 1-week streamer here.
Yep. That's why we bring the boys in the building, man. They really get it done. And we really want to talk to these fans. The fans are here to talk to you guys. All right, let's see what we got. Here's our first question from Bars in the Truck. First off, is there an album coming out? Shoot it to me. Here's a quick question you won't get from anyone else. My league gives points for return yards. Do I pick up Jamal Agnew since he's getting targets now, plus the Jags D to double up if he gets a return touchdown? Interesting one there. I think I've only been in one league where you get return yards as a part of it.
Yeah, I actually had to look up Agnew and see his usage because I hadn't really been studying it a bunch, and I really like this call here by Bars in the Tuck. You look at what he ran. He ran 63% after the DJ Shark injury to Cincinnati last week. We look at Jamal Agnew getting 63% of the snaps. Everybody thought it was going to be Laviska Shenault in this game. It ended up being Agnew, 8 targets, 6 reception, 41 yards. So, yeah, it's not a ton of yardage on those catches, but if he's going to continue to get peppered with targets, that's just great upside in a league that's also going to give you those return yards.
Playing against the Dolphins this week, who's just been, they're a lot better on paper than what they've been letting up in games too. So you kind of
Seattle after the bye too.
Yeah. Tua's potential first game back as well. So not a bad play. Smart.
Should I trade Gaskin? This is from Kenny. Should I trade Gaskin for Michael Thomas full PPR? Gaskin is my RB4.
I'd do this deal. Yeah, I think full point PPR. We have no idea how this offense could change with Michael Thomas. A lot of people have been saying that Sean Payton's kind of been limiting Jameis Winston, but then we saw Jameis kind of pop last week again. Maybe as Michael Thomas gets back into this offense, it opens up a few more things for the Saints offense. I think this is a good deal for you, especially in full point PPR.
And even, I'll take it one step further. Kind of what I would do is buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing on this, because what you generally see is when these receivers come back, they're not quite what the hype was before. Yeah. So I would actually make this trade and then kind of hang on to him, and the hype is going to build more and more over the next week because he should be returning week 7, and then I would trade him right before week 7, and then you could really make out like a bandit on that.
I think we kind of covered this one, talking about the tight ends that you should be looking for on the waiver wire. So let's see. Shout out to Baki for tuning in, man. You had to get him up there. All right, here we go.
I want to get one more, if I could, on the tight end real quick, Pat. Evan Ingram. So we talked about, even if Kadarius Toney couldn't go this week and we have all the other receivers banged up plus Saquon, Evan Ingram led this team in targets last year, and he's slowly picked up his pace over the last few weeks coming back from injury. So I think he's another one to look at this week as well.
Mm-hmm. Keep that in mind, Baki. Keep that in mind. Let's go out to William here. William Hanby. I have Darnold, but I also have Scary Terry, and I'm looking at Heineke this week against KC. Should I stop thinking before I hurt myself?
He's getting that double dip. Kansas City giving up a lot to wide receivers. Yeah. I don't think I would get. I think I would still start Darnold though. I would still start Darnold.
He's playing against. Darnold's playing against Minnesota this week, and also a good defense to target when you're playing against them. Their secondary not as good as it has been, under Zimmer in the past. Yeah. This is a team that's been in a few shootouts itself. So, it's tough right here to get scary with both of these guys because Heineke had the bottom fall out last week, and so did Darnold. So I wouldn't be going looking for more differences. I'd say I'd lean on Darnold a little. I have a little more trust in the offense, especially if CMC comes back. And so that's why I think I'd lean on Darnold in this one.
I will say, I think the interesting thing with Heineke is we've seen the bottom drop out against pretty much those better defenses minus Buffalo. He actually had a pretty good day against Buffalo.
In fact, this was his only bad game. Was this last one against New Orleans?
This last game, and that's what I'm saying. Defense. Is he somebody at this point that if you've got an opportunity to get him, yeah, we can trust him to be a solid QB1 if you have no other option at this point in the season. If your QB1 went down, or if you're trying to find that right guy, is Taylor, good Lord, Taylor Heineke or Heine. What was the
Heineke.
argument y'all were having?
Yeah,
Heineke.
Heineke, yeah.
Yeah.
Is he somebody that you can trust to be that QB1 to step in for you if you have no other options?
I just look at it like this. If you already have Darnold, who's
Yeah.
basically in the same boat as Heineke,
Yeah.
who's basically a guy who's produced right now, and he's shown a little bit maybe more upside with those rushing touchdowns. I'm not saying that's reliable, but I'm saying that's something that it's kind of a pull the rabbit out of the hat situation. But I also look at a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, and I feel like you just make your bet in these guys, and then you kind of go for it, and you look at schedule. If I'm talking about a guy I trust the most right now, maybe you have Russell Wilson, and you're looking for that bridge gap. What I suggested was Bridgewater to bridge the gap. You see what I did there? I actually like that the most because of the schedule. 3 of the next 4 games, again, against top 10 defenses, allowing points to the quarterback, or I should say bottom 10 defenses. So it would, if I'm ranking them right now, Pat, for you, I would go Teddy Bridgewater, I would go Sam Darnold, and then I would go Taylor Heineke. And that's because of the trust in the offense and the play style. I know that Teddy B, his norm is not to throw interceptions and turn the ball over. He's a good football player. Sam Darnold, I've seen a little bit this year that's gotten me excited, but I trust the offense more than Washington. You know, I just trust the weapons more. CMC coming back, I trust that as a pass catcher more.
Boss man Fat, hey, listen, he said it, not me. Rank first to worst for my waivers: AJ Dillon, Devontae Booker, Darrell Williams, and Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert, an interesting one too.
Yeah.
Johnny, you go ahead on this. I took the last one.
Well, I would probably. AJ Dillon is interesting to me because of Aaron Jones, but I don't. It depends on. Here's the thing. It depends on if you need these guys this week. If it's a plug and play for this week, I'm either going Devontae Booker or Darrell Williams. That that could be arguably changed 1A 1B kind of thing. Then I would go probably AJ Dillon and then Herbert. But Herbert is interesting to me.
Herbert's interesting because you saw him. I mean, the Bears absolutely needed somebody that was going to run hard.
Right.
You saw him running hard. Like it was like, we're getting to 3rd and 1, we're getting to 4th and 1, and it's like, hey, you're giving the wrong back the ball. Like Damian Williams has never been the punch you in the mouth guy. He wants to finesse you. He wants to do the spin move that we saw to get in there. Herbert's an interesting one to me. I don't know if he'll get a ton of the touches, but I think that he's a touchdown threat at a minimum. Stefan Adon, shout out to my boy, man. I'll see you in a little bit. We got to go shoot the other show out here. He says, what info can you give him on Curtis Samuel?
This doesn't look good for Curtis Samuel. He had missed time with the groin, came back and injured the groin again. He's considered week to week, and so even when he was in, we weren't seeing a lot of touches. When we're looking at this offense, it's a narrow target tree, Pat. We've got Terry McLaurin, maybe a little bit of the tight end position, and a little bit of J.D. McKissick, and that is it. That's what they do in Washington, and we just haven't seen it. Now, maybe some of that is because Diami Brown got hurt, Curtis Samuel got hurt, but I'm going to rely on the fact that I think that this offense isn't as dynamic as it can be. Look out for Ryan Fitzpatrick, also could be coming back soon from the IR, so we'll see how that changes things. But Curtis Samuel right now, week to week, I think you can move on for some of the guys on the waiver, which would include obviously Kadarius Toney, Tim Patrick, I think is another one, and then Marquez Callaway. If you can hold on through a bye week, starting to heat up a little bit here in New Orleans.
Chase Wellner asks, since Goddard is on the COVID list, should I start Ertz versus Tampa over Hunter Henry versus Dallas?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a great matchup. I mean, right now Tampa is just a sieve on the pass defense side. They just let up a lot of yardage and points.
Yep.
Boss man Fat Ass. I love the name. I had to go back to this one.
I don't know if we could cuss on the show, but I thought you just did right there.
No.
You said apps.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're good. Fats. F-A-T. Is TJ Hawkinson a sit this week against Cincy? He's underperformed 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Go
This
for it,
is
Johnny. Sorry.
interesting because Cincinnati, kudos to this question. Cincinnati actually fourth best against the tight end position so far this season. So not a great matchup at all. I think it would solely depend on who else you have. But it does seem that teams are double teaming Hawkinson, really understanding that that's kind of their main focal point that they want to do in the passing game, and have been really taking him out. Not only that, but the matchup is difficult. So I would say it depends on who you have
Well, and just a little devil's advocate, Johnny, not to call you out or anything. We do have a couple injuries in the Cincinnati secondary, right? So we've got to be watching that. But also look at who they've played. Like, can you name me a tight end one out of Minnesota, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, and Green Bay? Like, we don't really have talented tight ends right there.
How dare you do that to Robert Tonyan, dude?
Yeah, but like
that
Tunyan's underperforming this year, right? He's not getting the usage. So that's what I'm saying. Like, they haven't really played a ton of people. Hawkinson is in this weird spot, though, guys. He's in a spot where now that defenses know they can just focus on him, we've got to see him get to that Kittle level where he can rise above that and beat that out. And we're going to try and see if that can happen. And then obviously you're playing with Jared Goff. So how much of his deficiencies are counting against you as well? I'm still rolling with Hawk, though, because 90% usage, like it would depend on who's on your waiver or who you could start over Hawk. And there's not many on the waiver. I'm starting over TJ Hawkinson right now.
Yeah. Good question here by Juke Collier. What is Lockett's worth right now? Who is another wide receiver that I can try and go out and get? Have a decent bench. Maybe I can pair him with someone else. If y'all send the questions, and here's P Kid in here dropping the five.
I was
anyway,
waiting for it.
I thought he'd be on the show today. I was waiting for him, man.
Yeah. You know,
Pat wasn't going to let that happen.
What do you got? You know what? Honestly, Tuesdays are a tough day for him, but
okay.
I know he would have loved to be here today.
Man.
That especially, you know what? We said this is the best fantasy week both of us we've ever played because it literally came down to the last second, the last play, and we're on the edge of our seat.
That game was absolutely awesome. I lost in a couple leagues, but still had the time of my life calling that game with everybody. And then also got so many DMs from Whisper Nation saying, look, I won by barely this much. I lost by barely this much. I mean, it was a very tilting week for everybody.
Oh, look at this guy. He was in you guys' chat, wasn't he?
Yeah.
What the heck's going
on? Wow,
gotta
block him on YouTube.
Seriously.
Hey, man, that's all good.
We ain't got no place for any of this, man.
A lot of hate out here, man. That's all good.
Is that John Gruden's burner or what?
Good burn right there. I like that. I like that.
What the heck? Get out of here, dude.
Shout out to Cameron for the super chat as well, man. What are you guys thinking about Lockett right now?
I'd like to get Johnny's opinion on this. I think there's a couple guys you might not be able to do this. Like the window might have closed on Robert Woods, but maybe Robert Woods is a guy you could laterally move for here if you really want to get out of it. The problem is Lockett didn't pop, but maybe you could point to the couple plays he had. He had a touchdown called back. He had a deep route not connected on. He had the route where he fell down at the end of the game. So maybe you could point to some of that and sell it. Brandon Ayuk, another interesting one. Maybe you could get out of Lockett for Brandon Ayuk, and you're buying the dip on Brandon Ayuk and thinking that after the bye, they'll get him more involved. He is a first-round pick. Yeah. So those are some guys I think it would depend on your gut and what you felt on those guys, but maybe some names that might help you there.
Do you like Henderson? Shout out to Cameron with the super chat as well.
Nice.
Do you like Henderson or Patterson, ROS PPR? I'm Patterson, first off, coming from the Bears, it hurts a lot. He has been the surprise of the season, and Kid wanted me to trade for him last week. I might be regretting that. But what are you guys thinking about Henderson or Patterson right now?
So we walked through this one, Johnny, last night on the live, and we were talking because Patterson, we had called a sell high last week, but then it was like a situation of like, what do we do here when we're looking at some of the guys you could go get? You know, James Robinson, maybe Darrell Henderson, some of these other guys, some of the wide receivers you could go to try and get. I actually think I want Henderson here just because of the volume in that offense. He is an injury risk, but we also have risk that Patterson's bottom could fall out as well. I mean, you saw Patterson with the Bears. It's cute and it's fun to mess around and play him as a gadget, but then sometimes that goes away. And so I think that could eventually happen. We look at the Calvin Ridley thing. It shouldn't be a long-term absence. It was a personal matter. So I think once he's back, obviously that's going to happen. But I think Henderson is a the lead back when he's on the field and healthy in a really, really good offense. Johnny, I don't know if you agree with that take or not, but
yeah, I do. I do think that if you can make like a trade where it would be Patterson for Henderson, I would do that. I'm trying to acquire Henderson right now. I think he's a low key underrated player. I have him as a top 15 the rest of the way. Similar to the concern just with Patterson is that they've been so far behind and so much of these games. What if that defense or offense does start to kind of get into shape a little bit, and then Cordero loses a lot of that value because they're not passing or coming from behind as much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Here's another good one. Mixon and Antonio Brown for Cook, non PPR, or should I ask for Aaron Jones instead?
I don't think I'd do either of those deals. Mixon, yeah, he's a little dinged up, but still scored last week. And when he's right, he's going to get the volume that Cook and Jones get when they're right as well. And then AB, like, why are we trying to get out of AB? Like, even in games that they're not doing well, look at the New England game. Even in games that they're not throwing very well because of the rain, he got 11 targets in that game. So, even in standard, the Brady wants to throw 1 million touchdowns this year. Let's be real. Like, that's what he wants to do.
And he looks
Especially if
for
there's
80.
no Gronk. Like,
right.
like the absence of Gronk is what me and Kid have kind of been talking about, how big that is, because you end up like that was his guy in the end zone, and now
especially
it's like
in the red zone. Yeah,
my guy.
Right.
Yeah.
But and then not only that, but Antonio Brown, this is pretty wild. He missed a game, right? Because he was on the COVID list, and he is still a top 20 wide receiver and just, minimal points away behind Godwin and not that far behind Mike Evans. Like when AB is in the game, Tom Brady looks for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Here's another good one by Ringo here. Do you think Kyle Pitts will get it going now? And this is Johnny's guy, that he had a breakout game.
Finally. I also have to apologize because Ringo asked a question earlier about Knox earlier this season, completely disregarded it, and I apologize because Knox has just been looking like it.
We didn't disregard it. We just we made priors, right? We had an assumption on what Knox was going to be in this offense, and we told you guys on that kickoff show, like, we just didn't see it. And what we've seen is that Knox is kind of this year's Robert Tonyan. He's getting the touchdowns right now that Tonyan lived off of, and he's just making splash plays, and that's where that offense is going. And so ride the wave. But yeah, Johnny, continue on with Pitt.
With Kyle Pitts, I do think that he will be a top 6 tight end rest of season. I do think this was his breakout game, but you do also have to temper a little bit and say that, Ridley wasn't there. There were certain expectations and stuff that weren't necessarily going to be in line for the future. But I will say all of the extracurriculars, that you like to see, red zone usage as far as routes ran, all in the positive for Kyle Pitts.
Absolutely. Here's a serious question.
I know. I love how Kid said that. Like, hey, listen, serious. Forget all the questions before.
It's like Matt Nagy. You know what I'm saying? I'm the head coach. That's real. That's real.
You guys gotta believe segment. Oh,
you gotta believe me.
Oh man, that Matt Nagy segment you guys did was killing me, dude. Killing me.
Oh, he's the king of the word salad, man. Serious question. How do you feel about Mooney right now, and what do we believe Crowder can do? I'm assuming he's talking about Crowder from New Jersey there.
Yeah.
Or New York Jets.
So Mooney is not – I just can't trust – you're not going to like this, Pat, but I don't know how we trust this Bears offense at all going forward. I'm living in it. It's true. I mean, I've given up, and Johnny can probably talk me off the edge because he's called Robert Woods, and I was trying to give up on Robert Woods, but like I'm giving up on Allen Robinson for the most part. I'm giving up on Darnell Mooney. I've given up on Justin Fields as kind of that league winner this year because it's just not there. They don't want to design. It looks like Bill Lazor and Matt Nagy, especially Matt Nagy, have no desire to feed into what Justin Fields does the best, and that would be to move the pocket, to get him to run, and to throw deep shots to Darnell Mooney. And we're just not seeing it. And until I can see that, I have no trust in it. Now, as for Crowder did have an off game in London, but this is a guy that consistently averages in his career when things are going right and he's healthy, 8 to 10 targets a game. And we've seen Zach Wilson pepper that slot. So in a PPR league, I love Crowder as that bench bye-week filler that you can get. That's real. I'm 5-0. That's real.
I'm 5-0. That's real. I'm 5-0.
Yeah.
Hey, look, that's real. I can't be mad at him.
Yeah.
And it was man, listen.
And it was the most riveting 5-0. Like, he earned that 5-0. You can't deny that, Pat. He did earn it.
He did. I would have rather seen him 4-1, but he absolutely he absolutely earned that 5-0. I mean, we're talking last second, last play. At first, I'm like, oh, it's not Brown. Oh God. Oh God.
That was hard.
The single-digit numbers, man. You never know now.
Oh man, I appreciate you guys for tuning in and rocking with us, and I appreciate all the people that came in here. What we got now? We got 17 people in here. Shout out to those people that came through and rocking with us, man. If you guys want to play with us in fantasy, hopefully we can get the Fantasy Whispers to hop in. I don't know if you guys indulge in FanDuel, but we do got the FanDuel.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
We got the FanDuel in the building, and just the question out there: you guys like us Bears fans who know they can run a successful franchise? Well, Packers fans, you know, Cardinals fan over here.
Yeah.
But who know? Listen, we all know we're GMs out here. We know we can run this franchise better than Ryan Pace at a minimum. Well, now we've teamed up with FanDuel to give you that opportunity to put your GM skills to the test. With FanDuel being the premier sports gaming destination in the United States, we realize it's the perfect way not only to team up with the Breeze Nation, Whisper Nation for fantasy fun, but also a way to allow you to win some cash prizes. Cash prize this week over 100 bones. Second place coming away with some nice scratch as well. We'll be doing the Windy City Weekly fantasy contest that allows you to win real cash prizes and compete against the crew. It's simple. You pick your team while staying under the given salary cap of $60,000, and if you pick the best team, you win. So tune in, rock with us, play on FanDuel with us, kids in there. Hopefully we can get the Whisperers in there as well. We got Ringo in there. AD's usually in there. AD has not fared well. But we appreciate you guys for tuning in, man. Check the link in the description below. It's at fanduel.com/Windy City Weekly, or just click the link in the description below, and we'll have the link in the community tab. So subscribe so you can get on that community tab. Boys, I appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with me for another week, man. Another great week of fantasy ahead. Hopefully I can start to turn this thing around. Hopefully you guys continue your dominance. And hey, to everybody out there, man, we appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with us. It's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again for the bros. Big Travie TFW. Follow him on Twitter. And Johnny_Game Time. Follow him on Twitter. Ayo Chicago. Ayo Fantasy World. Get your teams right. And y'all stay safe out there. Peace.